I first tried marijuana when I was 9, and then I started using it regularly when I was 11.
I started smoking marijuana when I was 13, but before I started smoking marijuana, I guess I started drinking a little bit, hanging out with my friends.
Well, I first tried it with my cousin. He was about 15 when I was 9, and
we weren't technically in a gang, so to speak, but it was a group of us that hung out together all the time, and they were doing it.
I just thought, I looked up to him a lot, and I thought whatever he did was cool.
So just a matter of being a part of the group, we started hanging out, drinking, and led me into smoking marijuana.
I knew it was wrong, but I don't know, I just thought it'd be cool to try it, so I did.
I started using drugs at the age of 9. I started sniffing glue. By the time I was 16, I was a drug addict.
I drank for effect. I always drank for the major buzz of it, to get fallen down, blackout, everything.
When I started using marijuana stuff, I was probably 16 years old.
By the time I was 12, I was alcoholic.
13, I started using pot.
I was probably 19, I started using cocaine.
It went on to pills, Valium, cocaine at the age of 15.
24 before I started using heroin. In the first year, I just snorted it, and I started shooting it.
I started smoking marijuana when I was 13. I was curious.
And it took me a lot of places. I left home at the age of 15. I was out on the streets selling my body for 9 years.
And from there, it's just like an ongoing thing. I enjoyed the high, so I just kept doing it.
In and out of jail a lot. And finally, at the age of 20, I was in prison. I was in Bedford Hill for 3 years.
I started using when I was about 12 years old.
Then to drinking, hard liquor.
It got progressively worse.
I started real early, at about 9 years old, because my father, he was an alcoholic. As a matter of fact, he died from alcoholism.
I was non-stopping for about 10 years.
He used to always have a bottle around the house, and around Christmas time, he had more than usual.
I tried marijuana, was one, alcohol, ecstasy, LSD, cocaine, and it just goes on and on.
One particular night, I never forget it, I got a little bit drunk and came, in the front room, and everybody noticed I was drunk. And ever since then, I was, I just always had a thing for drinking alcohol.
Basically during my use of drugs, I always wanted to try something else, something a little different.
I was a full-fledged alcoholic by the age of 13.
Probably, let's see, I don't know, somewhere between 15, 16, 17.
I was gone, you know what I'm saying? Teenage jockey.
It was the drinking and the pills first, and then it went to the heavy drugs, the heroin, cocaine.
So school became boring to me. I would go to school, go to sleep.
I started drinking 40 ounces when I was 12.
I started drinking when I was 11. I started drinking and smoking cigarettes.
And from then on, I was just drinking until about the age of 16 when I first started smoking marijuana.
My marijuana first started off when I was like 16 years old. I was in high school.
By the time I was 11, I was living with my mother. And she worked all day and went to school at night. So I was pretty much on my own.
Then I started sniffing coke. From then on, it just all went downhill. Started selling it, gave up my job, quit school, and everything.
And I think that started my problem off, because I was just being around other guys, being around the bad seed, going around different people. Didn't want to stay in school, and I didn't graduate from high school.
The alcohol continued to tell me that I didn't have to listen to her, and I didn't have to go to school, and I was grown enough not to have to go to church on Sunday, and I didn't have to obey the rules. And so I listened to it, and I ran away, and got introduced to the street really, really young.
And how I got introduced to heroin was from my sister. Not my oldest, but my niece sister.
I would mostly shoplift and steal.
I've walked 20 blocks with holes in my shoes in the middle of January just to cop.
That's all I knew. I woke up every morning, knowing that I have to go out there and stick my hand in somebody's pocket to, take care of my drug habit.
I would I would go home with people, with men, you know, and
Everybody, it seems, in that world, when they're on this stuff, is basically out for themselves, which I couldn't say I wasn't. But every day somebody ripping you off or something happening or getting beat up. I mean, so many times I've been robbed, had gun put to my head, punched in the face, you know, the usual stuff that happens.
Well, I've been to the point where I was practically a bum, you know, on the streets.
Now that's insane, that's out of control.
Oh, jeez. Out of control isn't the word.
My life was out of control.
I've been smoking crack now for going on 8 years, you know. It's no fun, you know. Then
in the morning, I used to get so sick on heroin, to have heroin, that before I ate anything, I needed a bag of heroin.
I did a lot of things, you know. I done stole things from people, you know, took things from people just to get that next hit, you know.
Dealing drugs, doing all them negative things. That's how I ended up with, you know, all this time that I've been incarcerated.
Stealing from my mother, stealing from friends.
I had no teeth. My teeth had all deteriorated from the cocaine.
Taking from my son.
I was snorting so much cocaine that I couldn't even breathe through my nose. And today I have a deviated septum.
Yes, I've ate out of garbage cans, slept on the streets of New York, slept on the subway trains, you know, boxes behind Port Authority.
I look back at my life a lot and how I started when I was 13 years old. I had no intention of becoming a drug addict. I had no intention of becoming a crack addict.
Prostituting myself.
You know, I thought I could stop smoking crack, and if I just smoked a little weed, everything would be cool. But that was the lie I was telling myself.
Became homeless.
Watched people die, you know. I've done it all, male prostitution.
I had been hustling and living in the street practically for most of my life.
I used heroin within the last year because of an ex-boyfriend, and you know, he would shoot it up for me and everything, and
it didn't make me any difference. The only thing I wanted was another drink.
I thought, you know, big, bad, tough Melody. I would take no crap from anybody, but that's my drug way.
Was willing to do anything to get it.
Now I sit back and I say, oh my God, I was actually in Harlem at 3 in the morning buying drugs, and as a female, you know.
I didn't have any use for anybody. You know, if you wasn't there to serve the purpose of me drinking a drug, and I had no use for you whatsoever.
I've had guns to my head, and I didn't care. As long as you gave me my drugs, that's all I wanted. You could shoot me, let me do it, you know, and it's a horrible way of living.
Throughout high school, I was using and I was also dealing at the same time.
Then I got in a big scale. I started dealing drugs.
I was working and selling drugs to support myself and my habit.
But then all that pushed me to go and sell drugs, you know.
I had to maintain my drug of choice, which is marijuana, and I sold drugs.
And it just kept escalating to the point where I was considered a big-time drug dealer.
Because I didn't want to be a bum. So I sold drugs.
So being rather resourceful and knowing some people, I kind of got into a jet-set life really quick and would go down to Jamaica and pick it up and fly it back.
I got arrested numerous times at a very early age, and
the drugs definitely took me away from things that I wanted to complete at a younger age, you know. And, you know, it kind of hurts when you look back and say what I could have been and what I am now.
I went to hell and back.
My grades in school were terrible.
It took away family, spouse, material things like home and friends.
I ended up quitting school a month before graduation.
I've been raped 3 times. And those were things that I never talked about or even told my family. I've been shot at, I've been stabbed, ran over by cars, a whole lot of things.
I would leave her with people for days. I mean, I would leave her, I'd go to the babysitter and take her and leave her for days, you know, I mean.
Once in a while, like one time I got back on the dirt bike and I was on the drugs, drinking, and doing downers, 2-and-alls and stuff, and I got in a bad accident.
It got me to, I got stabbed and got shot and almost died a few times.
Lost my spleen, broke my back, and that should have been the reason to stop there, but for some reason I was in the hospital 6 months in a full body cast. I went back into it again, thinking that, you know, it was different.
And they came around and they could see my life just disintegrating. I couldn't see it. And all I could tell myself was, she's better off with them anyway. She needs a mom and a dad. You know, they can do this. And they came around and asked me if they could adopt her.
I went down to pick up a guy in Memphis who I had met down there, and we were using drugs, and you know, we were really high, and on the way back I let him drive because I had just driven all the way down there. He totaled my car, my mom's car, which I had taken down there.
I got to the point where my other brother moved away and I couldn't pay the rent anymore, so I was homeless. And
I wasn't in trouble for a while, but I started going to jail for a lot of petty larcenies, and the judge seen that he said, it's something here, because he had wanted me to take a urine test, and I told him, you know, for what? Because I don't do no drugs, you know, but I was in denial all the time.
I remember spending 2 weeks, like, outside on people's steps, sleeping, and
he said, well, you must be doing something because you constantly coming here every other week for petty larceny and little small crimes, you know, to get money. So, and that's where it led me at, and
going just anywhere to find somewhere to sleep, going home with people to have somewhere to sleep, going home with people I didn't even know, just whoever would let me crash wherever. And
some of the things that I be trying to remember that I done in the past, I can't really think of them. You know, I don't remember it.
Well, I've been to juvenile detention 5 times.
I was raped twice during that time. You know, one time when I was in the reform school and they tried to put me in a foster home, I was raped and sent back to the foster home.
I've been on house arrest 3 times. I've been on probation since I was 12.
And they threw me in secure room, and until they checked me out and made sure I wasn't pregnant or didn't have any diseases.
I've been to treatment for 2 months.
And then when I was on the run, I was raped again. And at that time, I contracted syphilis. And I was very, very sick from that and wound up in the hospital.
So every day, after we get out of work, we smoke probably half ounce of dope, or weed, whatever you want to call it.
And as a result, I ended up with a complete hysterectomy 5 years later. You know, that was, I had about 8 fibroid tumors that were attached to the reproduction organs, and that was the end of that, you know.
My whole life, up until a few months ago, I've been involved heavily into drugs. It's got me nowhere but worse.
I never could finish nothing. Anything I tried to start, I never finished. I could never finish it.
So drugs, all it did was get me deeper in a hole, more depressed, lose my children, lose my home.
Then PCP came in. Then I started smoking PCP, you know, mind blank out there, you know.
It doesn't get you anywhere, that 5-minute high. I don't care if it's a 20-minute high or a 200-year high. It doesn't get you anywhere but deeper in a dark hole, and it's harder to climb out day by day.
And sometimes I wonder why I'm still around.
In 1971, was arrested for bringing marijuana into the country.
Started getting locked up at the age of 15.
What I did was, my hustler was, you know, pickpocketing. That's what I'm here in Albion facility for.
And I did my first felony conviction. It was a federal felony, and it was for importing marijuana.
I pretty much had something to do with the state from the age of 15 till I was 18, Division for Youth. But I always resulted back to the drug use when I went back home.
I have been locked up so many places, you know.
I think going to prison was the rude awakening for me. It didn't stop me from using because I still used there.
I'm tired.
But I had to go through a lot of abuse there. You know, there was fights and there was lesbians, and
you got to be told when to go to sleep, when to wake up, what time to eat, when you could take your shower.
It was like the fresh meat coming through there because of the fact I was so young when I went, 20 years old, where a person was enjoying their lives and, you know, going to little parties. I was sitting in prison.
You know, I have a 4-year-old son. I hid him in a penitentiary in Chicago.
And at that time, I was rearrested and I was picked up on the escape charge.
And it took me a couple of days to realize that I was in prison. This is how high I was when I went there.
And I hid him in a penitentiary, but I never raised him, you know. I never got the chance to be that mother to him or watch him, his first crawl, his first walk.
And at that time, I remember the judge had called me a menace to society.
I'm tired, you know, even though that I just started this hustling and drugging when I was 26 and now that I'm 32, you know, I would never say, well, I thought that I would be here, you know, in a penitentiary. Not me, you know.
And I called him every name in the book, you know, and
6 felony convictions.
He quickly informed me that I was to be remanded to custody and no bail.
Well, I wound up serving a 3 to 9 year sentence for the state of New York, running concurrent with a 5 to 10 year sentence in New Jersey.
It's just opening up my eyes to a lot of things.
2, 10, 14, 3 to 9, 14, 17. New Jersey was, I wound up with 5 to 10. Where was I?
And this is the 3rd time around for me, so, you know, they say 3 strikes and you out and I'm out, you know. This is it for me.
4 years and change, 5 years, 6.5 years, and then another 4 years in Albion.
Because I never once thought that I had a problem.
And I can't count the county jails, you know, a lot of time.
Evidently, my way of life wasn't working. Here I am, 52 years old, and I'm sitting in a state prison.
So, let's say 12 years. Round it off, make it an even dozen.
You know, I think that was ludicrous.
I consider that doing time.
You know, I said, this just isn't right. Something's got to be wrong with my way, so let me try it their way.
I mean, I should still be in prison.
I found out I was HIV positive in the summer of 1992.
I have a new outlook on life.
Eventually, come to find out, I got on the methadone program in '88, and I got tested right off the bat. And I found out that's when I was positive.
I want to say this prison bid and me finding out some bad news along the way, which is not all that bad. I found out I was HIV positive during the course of this bid.
Shooting the drugs, I did get AIDS from it, and I did give it to my daughter. So basically, I mean, my whole life has been like garbage.
And my girlfriend did pass away. She died. She went to prison for a while, didn't get any help, and she died. And a couple of my friends had died along the way.
I just couldn't believe it. I said, nah, you must have mixed up those tests or something, you know? It can't be. And they said, no, you are positive. And they took me into an office and sat me down and told me what had to be done. Excuse me, that I would have to come back periodically for testing. And
the time that I have is valuable. You know, I have to go out and possibly carry this message to other guys my age that's going through the same thing that I'm going through.
Drugs, the chemicals and all that, that's poison, you know. I just want to, you know, live a happy, healthy, drug-free life. And I know that I can, you know. But I know it's going to take time, and I'm willing to give it all the effort and time in the world, however long it takes, you know.
This is something I wanted my whole life, is to be happy and sober, you know, and drug-free. And I never thought that it would happen to me. I never thought that I could achieve sobriety, you know. I just always thought it was just a way of life, and it was my way of life for so many years that it was so hard. I mean, it was so hard to change.
I ain't coming back to prison. You know. Before I would say that, but in the back of my mind, I'd be like, yeah, well, I'm gonna drink me a beer as soon as I get off the bus. Or, well, I'm not gonna get high until I get off parole. But now it's like, I don't even humor the thought. You know, before my stomach used to turn when I used to think about it. But now it's not like that. Now it's just, I'm not getting high, you know? I'm not getting high, period, you know? And it's like I said, it's so wonderful not to have to concentrate on not getting high, you know? Because I could concentrate on all these other things, you know? It's really, I'm very focused.
Today, I've been almost 2 years clean. I'm active in church. I volunteer. I run a recovery group. I'm in the program here.
But I believe that staying away from the people and the places and the things that get you into trouble are the most important things.
I think it's happiness, because most of us struggle to find happiness in a bottle or a pill or a drug of some kind, and you never find it till you stop and you live and work a program one day at a time.
Well, today in my life, I could say I was clean 1.5 years, thank God, and I'm really working my program, and I'm supposed to start back to school a couple of weeks. I'm going to college, supposed to take some computer classes, and just, you know, get re-educated and get back into the system and try and do the right thing and live a normal life. That's what I'm trying to do today.
If I don't know what to do, I just do the next right thing. If I have a doubt about it, I don't do anything. And that breaks it down to real simple. Yeah. If I think something might be wrong, I just don't do it.
Yeah, one day at a time. That's it.
I've had an opportunity to go through treatment one last time, and I say this is my last time. And I'm believing that by faith that's it, because I'm trying to be disciplined and obedient this time in my life. And I think that's really the issue, is being disciplined and obedient, listening to folks who have more experience than you, folks who've been through this before.
Because I am serious about getting off this drug problem. This time, you know, I got to make it. I really want to. You know, I'm sick or tired of being sick or tired. I'm tired of this dope, you know. I want to go out now and help kids out now. You know, do something for, you know, I got 2 sons. I don't want them to grow up like this here. I do not want him to come up like this here.
I can tell you, since I've been out of jail, I've had more reasons, legitimate reasons to get high than I ever had in my lifetime with everything that has happened, you know. But I just kept thinking one day at a time. I say that serenity prayer sometimes 20 times a day, you know. And as long as I keep going with that thought in mind, one day at a time, I'm going to be all right, you know.
I wanted out of my life, and I was having a hard time with how do I not think about it. I go to rehab every Tuesday and asking the other people there, how do you do it? How do you not think about drugs? How do you not get up and not do it? And basically, just to be happy. I just want to laugh and smile and be happy.
It's got to be to the individual. They have got to want to do something different with their life. You know, they've got to know that drinking and drugging not only harms themselves, but it affects everybody and everything they come in contact with.
I want to continue trying my best to stay clean, and I want to eventually get off probation. I want to graduate high school and go to college.
Why?
I want to graduate high school because, I mean, I don't think I could really get a good job, or a legal job, without an education. I think that's important.
It's definitely good being sober. I wouldn't trade it for nothing else, you know.
I really want to make something out of myself because, you know, I've been on the streets before and it's not what I want to do. You know, I want to be stable and have security. So I want to have kids. I want to be a mom.
There's a certain type of freedom to be responsible. You know, I never was responsible before. Now I'm able to work and pay a bill, you know, balance a checkbook, you know, go to the bank and get money out and don't have to worry about not having any money in there, you know, giving it away to drug dealers and the liquor stores. And, you know, I drive a car. You know, I got my license for the first time. You know, I'm 36 years old. I'm just getting a license 3 years ago, you know, but it's legal. I can get insurance. I'm like, you know, things that normal people do, you know, I was able to do. It might sound trivial to some. Oh, but man.
And I feel that I wasn't just, I wasn't arrested, I was rescued, you know what I mean? Because it gave me time to stop and really think and, you know, analyze, you know, do like one of them self-inventories of myself and see what's wrong with me, what needs changing. And I've come to the, you know, the bottom line conclusion. I have to stay away from the people, the places, and the things that led me to this place, you know what I mean? To led me into hanging out late at night, you know, going to clubs, drinking, drugging, and my plans are just to get back and be a normal person again, you know, with my family. I have an 8-year-old daughter, you know, I have a wife, a loving wife, mother and father are back, you know, behind me 100%, brother and his family. I just want to have another chance to get back out there and do the right thing.
And I wouldn't trade today for nothing, the way I feel about me today for nothing. All the money in the world cannot give me what I feel today. I have peace, I have serenity, and hope.